Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to do something a little different, and I'm really excited about this one. We're going to be taking a look at a true story from one of our followers, Laszlo from Hungary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hungry.
I know, right? So it's fascinating how, like, after air, water, and food, the next basic need that we all have as humans is shelter, right? Like a place where we feel safe and secure, a true home.
100%. You know, when you think about it, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
We need that foundation of safety and security to really thrive.
Absolutely. And you know, we've been just flooded with true stories lately from all of our listeners, so thank you for sharing those with us. This one in particular really struck a chord with me because it's a story about that fundamental need for security being violated.
And it's like, you know, in the heart of Europe, you think of Hungary.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily think about something like this happening.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why it's so important to kind of shine a light on these issues.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, keep those stories coming, folks. Like, share, comment. Let us know what you think of today's episode.
Yeah.
So let's get into Laszlo's story. He was building this amazing, eco-friendly home in a housing development in Magyarország, Hungary. Very meticulous about every detail. Wanted to create this sustainable, harmonious living space.
That's idyllic.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But then things took an unexpected turn when a new developer came in and started construction on a neighboring lot.
Oh, no.
I know, right?
Not good.
And this is where the simple notification system in Hungary comes into play.
Okay.
So this system was designed to streamline the building permit process, but it seems like it might have some loopholes that developers can exploit.
It's like every time you try to simplify something to make things easier, you just create more problems somewhere else,
That's
right?
the law of unintended consequences, right?
Yeah.
So Laszlo tried to raise his concerns about the placement of this new building, you know, especially regarding overshadowing and the invasion of privacy.
Right.
But his concerns were essentially ignored.
Wow, that's tough. Like, you pour your heart and soul into building your dream home, and then all of a sudden that dream becomes a nightmare.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
He tried to resolve it amicably, even suggested mediation, but the developer just bulldozed ahead. It seems like they were very confident that this streamlined permit process had their back.
Like they knew they could get away with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is where the story takes a darker turn, because the developer's actions were facilitated by a representative named Mr. X. During construction, Laszlo noticed some landfilling activity that seemed to contradict the approved plans. And naturally, he flagged this, but the developer's legal team flat out denied it.
So already some shady stuff going on.
Oh, yeah. And remember that name, Mr. X, because things are about to get really interesting. So hold on to your hats, folks, because this is where the plot thickens. It turns out Mr. X was arrested in a raid related to tax fraud.
Oh, wow. Talk about a red flag.
Right.
Yeah.
What's going on here? So facing this wall of obstruction with mounting suspicions, Laszlo decided to take legal action. He brought in an expert who assessed the damages, lost sunlight privacy violation, the whole 9 yards, and they came up with a figure of 26 million forints, which is about 70,000 euros.
Okay, but pretty hefty sum.
Yeah, and it speaks to the tangible and intangible costs, of having your home violated in such a way.
Absolutely. It's not just about the monetary value. It's about the emotional distress, the erosion of that sense of security that we all deserve to have in our own home.
Exactly. So as the legal battle began, there were more surprises in store. A new expert, Dr. S, was appointed to the case. And then out of the blue, the defendant withdrew their request for a solar loss assessment.
That's strange, isn't it?
It is.
Like, why would you do that? If you're confident that there wasn't a significant impact, you would want to prove that right.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to downplay the extent of the damages, kind of sweep it under the rug and hope nobody notices.
Yeah.
And then there's this bizarre incident where Laszlo was barred from attending the site inspection at the defendant's property because Mr. X was present.
Wait a minute, even after being arrested?
Yes.
The plot thickens.
I know, right?
You can't make this stuff up.
It's like the ghost of Mr. X is still haunting the proceedings. It just adds to this whole air of suspicion surrounding the case.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like they knew they were in the wrong right, and they were trying to hide something.
Yeah, very suspicious. And, speaking of things that don't quite add up, let's talk about Dr. S, this new expert in the case.
Yes.
He came up with the solution for the overshadowing issue that I find very peculiar, installing a light-transmitting but view-blocking material.
Okay, wait, what?
I know, right? What is that? Some kind of magical window that lets in light, but you can't see anything?
Yeah, who would want to live in a house like that?
Right. It just raises questions about the expert's assessment. Was he truly impartial? Was there something else going on?
It sounds like they were grasping at straws.
Yeah.
So Laszlo, he wasn't having it. He challenged Dr. S's findings, and he even filed a complaint with the expert chamber.
Good for him. He's standing up for his rights.
Yeah, this guy's like a dog with a bone. He's not giving up.
Right. He's not going to let them walk all over him.
But sadly, the first instance court decision was a major blow. They only awarded him partial compensation, 7 million forints, roughly 19,000 euros, based on Dr. S's recommendations.
So essentially you're saying, okay, you're kind of inconvenienced, but just deal with it.
Yeah, it's like a slap in the face.
Right.
And it really speaks to the challenges that ordinary citizens face when they go up against these, well-connected entities.
It's David and Goliath.
Exactly. And, sadly, this isn't an isolated case in Hungary.
Really?
We've heard from other listeners who have had very similar issues with developers exploiting loopholes in the system. It's a worrying trend for sure.
It makes you wonder about who these systems are really designed to protect.
It's a good question, right?
Yeah.
But despite the setback, Laszlo, he was determined to appeal the decision. He wasn't done fighting.
I love his tenacity. It would be so easy to just give up at that point.
Oh, yeah. But he was not giving up. And while he was waiting for his appeal to be processed, Laszlo started digging deeper into the developer's company. He suspected there might be more to the story.
Oh, boy.
And he was right. He uncovered a pattern of financial mismanagement and potential fraud.
Oh, way.
He even reached out to other creditors who had been left with unpaid debts by the company.
So he's like a detective now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He's like uncovering this whole web of shady dealings.
Wow.
And what he found was pretty shocking. It turns out the developer's company was eventually liquidated, but not before they transferred the property in question to an associate UL through a very dubious contract that allowed them to bypass their existing debts.
Wait, so they just gave away this valuable asset to a friend?
Pretty much.
And stiffed all their creditors in the process.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, Laszlo did some digging into OL, and he found potential ties to a known criminal network operating in Hungary.
Are you kidding me?
And this was all corroborated by articles from reputable sources. So it's not just speculation.
This is insane. It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right? So Laszlo, being the tenacious guy that he is, filed a complaint with the Hungarian tax authority, NAV, highlighting this very suspicious property transfer and the potential connection to criminal activity. But get this, NAV initially dismissed the complaint.
What? Why? It's so obvious something shady is going on.
I know, it's incredibly frustrating. It's like they were turning a blind eye to potential fraud.
Wow.
But Laszlo, she persisted. He provided NAV with a detailed explanation of the potential fraud. And this finally prompted the prosecutor's office to get involved.
So they finally woke up.
They overturned NAV's decision, deemed it unlawful, and they ordered a full investigation.
Okay, so at least there's some progress.
It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless.
Yeah. It shows that persistence can pay off sometimes. And Laszlo wasn't stopping there. He was also determined to hold the developer's lawyer, Dr. Says, accountable for facilitating this shady property transfer.
Wow, he's not letting anyone off the hook.
His efforts led to disciplinary proceedings being initiated by the Bar Association. So, he's shaking things up.
That's amazing. But what about Dr. S, the expert who came up with that ridiculous solution?
Well, unfortunately, no. And this is where the limitations of the system become really apparent.
Okay.
Laszlo was very frustrated by the lack of accountability for Dr. S's actions. He discovered that the expert chamber was unable to conduct a disciplinary investigation because of a legal amendment from 2017 that protects experts whose opinions are accepted in court.
So even if an expert's opinion is completely bogus, they can't be held accountable.
Pretty much, as long as the court accepts their opinion.
That seems like a huge problem. It creates a real imbalance of power, and it undermines the integrity of the whole expert system.
Okay.
So Laszlo, being Laszlo, he decided to send an inquiry to the Ministry of Justice, seeking clarification on how the current legal framework ensures the integrity and impartiality of expert opinions.
So he's going all the way to the top.
He is. He's not letting this one go.
Good for him. What'd they say?
Well, their response was basically a shrug.
Shrug.
They essentially said that citizens have existing legal avenues to challenge expert opinions, but the Ministry of Justice is not responsible for ensuring the integrity of the expert profession itself.
So basically passing the buck.
Yeah, it was a very unsatisfying and evasive response.
Typical.
But Laszlo, he wasn't deterred. He decided to take this issue to the highest level possible.
Oh, wow. Where is he going with this?
His next stop? The European Commission.
He's taking this all the way to the top.
He is. He is not messing around.
It's incredible.
Right. This one man facing like these overwhelming odds is taking his fight to the European Commission.
It really is remarkable. And, his story, it really highlights the importance of that basic human need for security, for belonging.
Absolutely.
We all crave that feeling of having a place where we can truly be ourselves, a place where we feel safe, protected from the world.
It's more than just, four walls and a roof.
Right.
It's a sanctuary.
Exactly.
Like a reflection of our values and our aspirations. Mm-hmm. And when that sanctuary is violated, it can have a really profound impact.
Yeah. Imagine the constant anxiety of feeling exposed, knowing that your privacy has been invaded. It can be incredibly unsettling.
Yeah.
And when the very institutions that are supposed to protect you, they fail to do so, it's
a huge betrayal.
Yeah, it can really shake your faith in the system.
And what's even more disheartening is that, Laszlo's story is not an isolated incident.
Right.
You've heard from other listeners who have had similar experiences. And it makes you wonder, did anyone think that this could happen in the middle of Europe?
Yeah, it really challenges our assumptions about, the rule of law and the safeguards that are in place to protect our rights.
It's a stark reminder that even in, seemingly developed and democratic societies, systems can be manipulated.
Absolutely. Power corrupts, and those with influence, they can find ways to exploit the system for their own benefit.
It's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
But, on a more positive note, Laszlo's story also highlights the power of resilience.
100%. This guy is a true inspiration. He didn't give up. He kept fighting for what he believed was right.
Exactly. And he's meticulously documented his entire journey, gathering evidence, filing complaints, pursuing every legal avenue available to him.
He's become a real advocate, not only for himself, but for others who have been affected by this.
Yeah. He's shining a light on these systemic failures and empowering others to fight for their rights.
And, his dedication to transparency is commendable. He's sharing his story publicly, raising awareness. And it's really inspiring to see.
He's showing us that even in the face of these daunting obstacles, one person can make a difference.
Absolutely. And all comes back to that essential element of trust.
Right.
Trust in our institutions and our legal system, even in our neighbors.
And once that trust is broken, it can be very difficult to rebuild.
It takes time.
Wow.
It takes effort. And it takes a commitment to transparency and accountability.
So what can we do to prevent these situations from happening in the first place?
Well, I think it starts with awareness. We need to share these stories, discuss them, analyze them, and, hold those in power accountable.
We need to be more engaged citizens, participate in our local communities, advocate for stronger regulations, and support organizations that are fighting for homeowner rights.
Right. And, if you see something that seems wrong or unfair, don't stay silent. Speak up.
Knowledge is power. The more we understand about these issues, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves and our communities.
Well said. At the end of the day, we're all in this together.
Exactly.
By sharing our stories, supporting each other, working collectively, we can create a more just and equitable world for everyone.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive. Laszlo's story is a reminder that even when facing seemingly insurmountable challenges, individuals can make a difference.
His courage, his persistence, his dedication to justice, it's truly inspiring.
We'll be following his case closely and keeping you updated on any developments. In the meantime, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Laszlo's story? Have you experienced anything similar? Show your insights and experiences in the comments below.
And don't forget to like and share this episode to help spread the word.
The more people we can reach with these stories, the greater the impact we can have.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. We'll be back next time with another deep dive. Until then, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay informed.
Thank you.